Okay, we're talking about capacity testing. So you can do isometric testing, obviously, with the device, but one of the big advantages to using the Acculete is the ability to do capacity testing, which will be much more relevant for some of your results. So to set yourself up, obviously, you can just anchor the device to something solid. It can be anything solid, it doesn't really matter. And then we use the anchor point training resistance bands. They're much stronger. They're usually much better to work with. And then you connect your device. Now you'll see a few different numbers on the device. Peak force generation is the top number. If you're looking at it, the current force is how much force there's on there right now. So right now there's very little. And then the two numbers at the bottom. So one is a force generation capacity. That's going to be your test. And then the total force generation, that's usually reserved for a full workout. So if you're just doing one test, then you can ignore that number at the bottom. To set yourself up, you do want to do a single test first. So I'm just doing like an in-range quad test. There's just for simple setup purposes. Maybe it's post ACL or something like that. You set them up so that you can test, how much force they can generate getting into full range. So that's before you do your capacity test, figure out what band you're going to work with, how much force they have, be within their range and within sort of from your professional view, that's what it should look like. And that's where their initial force generation is good there. From there, so right here I have a peak force generation of 44 pounds. Perfect, that's good. Now I do have a number that's already displayed on the force capacity generation number. I need that to be at 0. So all I do is go to the button on the right-hand side of the device, push and hold that, and you'll see that the force generation capacity number goes to 0. Now we're ready to do our capacity test. We set them up in exactly the same way. And from here, we do exactly the same movement. It should be, each contraction should be less than a second to get an accurate test. But they go through the motions as many times as they can until they max out. The device is going to stop accumulating if they can't get within 25% of their peak force generation. So automatically, it will give you a capacity test, and they'll be maxed out. If they're doing the test properly, they'll be maxed out and they won't be able to cheat on the test. If you want to know what that capacity actually means, you can test the other side, get your peak force generation on the uninjured side or other side, whatever it is you're working on, and then get a capacity test on the good side, the uninjured side, so that you can have a relative gauge as to where they're at and where they need to get to in their rehab or reconditioning process. I hope this helps.